boy. Oh hi, it's been another year. Who'd have thought? In this video we're taking a look at, oh my god, my friend watched that movie? That's crazy. Go follow me on Letterboxd where I review movies for some reason. We're looking at my top 10 movies of 2024 because for some reason I've watched 40 different movies. I've actually I should do a top 10 least favourite movies of the year. It's not as diverse, but it'll be interesting to look into. So let's look at my top 10. It is, as of filming, it is the 12th of December, which means, yes, I will not be including Nosferatu because it doesn't come out in Australia till January 1st. Same as Paddington 3 comes out January 1st. I don't expect Sonic 3 to be a favourite, so I'm not going to acknowledge that. And there's The Brutalist, which doesn't come out till January for me. Bunch of movies don't come out till Jan. I could completely scrap this video, but I'm filming it now just because I'm going on holiday in January, so I don't think I'm going to have the time to actually watch those films, except for probably Nosferatu, because I actually want to watch that. And probably Sonic. I don't know. I don't even like the games, but I do enjoy the movies. I don't understand why. So let's look at my top 10. What are we going with? Oh my goodness gracious. We're starting at number... Actually, should I do some honourable mentions? The new Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, is a really fun film. Obviously, beautiful animation, funny, got some great background jokes that you notice probably on second viewing, but me, I was eagle-eyeing all that stuff. It's really fun, feels like a good Wallace and Gromit, a fun, inventive sequel to The Wrong Trousers, so definitely worth watching. Godzilla x Kong, because I gotta be honest, I'm really loving this MonsterVerse, and that's not a bad thing, because I know a lot of people think like, oh, they're piece of shit movies. Yeah, but they're fun as hell. And I gave this and Wallace and Gromit 4 stars, so clearly my taste in movies is very, very diverse. But I love the movie. It was really fun. I had a great time watching it with my mates. Just great. Just so much fun. I cannot wait to watch it again eventually. I don't know. But I like binging the MonsterVerse films on the occasion. And it's a great double feature with Godzilla vs. Kong as well. I think it does better than what Godzilla vs. Kong does, as much as I prefer, I think, Godzilla vs. Kong. Godzilla vs. Kong still has annoying human characters that I don't like, that I don't care about. If I don't care about Millie Bobby Brown, get rid of her from the movie, you'd have a masterpiece. But then this movie is like, we're getting rid of Millie Bobby Brown and we're replacing her with Dan Stevens. And I'm like, that's just a 5-star movie. Why didn't I give it 5 stars? I don't know. But there's monkeys slapping each other with other monkeys. It's really fun. And last of these best honourable mentions is Thelma, which is a really, really fun comedy. It's a really fun, emotional film as well, very powerful. I mean, look, I watched it the week that my grandfather passed away, so it was like, it really hit home. That one I gave like 4.5 stars. It is a truly amazing film. It's just really nice. It's one I want to show to my nan. Eventually, if it gets a Blu-ray release, I would like to buy it, show it to my grandmother, before she dies, whenever that happens. And yeah, so let's move on to the top 10, baby. So at number 10, we have Anora, which I gave 4.5 stars. This one I was very much looking forward to. It's one of the only films this year I was exceedingly looking forward to, and I loved it. I watched it just the other day, actually, because it finally came out. At a screening at the Astor they had with a Q&A with the director afterwards. It was a virtual Q&A, but yeah, it was great. I watched it as a double feature with Tangerine, because I'd seen that earlier that day, which I think helped to set the mood. But this one it's really funny, it's beautifully dramatic, the characters are amazing, the actors are amazing, it's just beautifully shot, it's very funny. Mikey Madison is amazing in this film. I would not be surprised if she won awards from this role alone, because she is incredible. I've only ever seen her most notably in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Scream 5, where I felt like played the same kind of character, and I'm like, well, yeah, alright, sure, you know, like watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, wow, she's great, and then you watch her in Scream 5, and you're like, of course she's the bad guy, she was the bad guy in that other film. So this is a completely different role for her, and Sean Baker had such a great casting choice for it, and it's a wonderful film. Highly recommend it. At number 9, we have Drive Away Dolls from Ethan Coen, and let's be honest and really credit her. What's her name? Is it Trisha Cook? It's just Trisha Cook. I did not realize that. Trisha Cook, who both co-wrote it and co-produced it, and I believe edited it as well. Yeah, she edited it as well. Yeah, this is her baby. Let's be realistic. I loved it. Me and my mate saw it early this year, and we were cacking ourselves the whole time. This has been a great year for, realistically, sex comedies. I mean, this, Honora, there's another one later in the list, which I wouldn't say as much as a comedy, but very much so still hits that note. Great. Loved it. I love that this is just a movie that exists. I know a lot of people hated it, and I don't understand why. A lot of people thought that, like, the transitions were goofy and whatever. I'm like, this is fucking... Everyone goes mad crazy about all the Sam Raimi films and all how crazy they are visually, and then they criticize this. So it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? So, I think it's great. Margaret Qualley is having a hell of a goddamn year. A hell of a goddamn couple of years. So... just a great one to add to her repertoire, and I highly recommend it. Then at number 8, we have Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. To some degree, I'm still surprised that I have this as high in contrast to Honora and Drive Away Dolls, but just in terms of the grandiose scale of just the visual storytelling, the way George Miller crafts his films, it's a film I gave 4 stars and would love to rewatch it and revisit it. It happened on a day, like, I watched it, had a great time with my mate and my dad watching it, found out awful news right after the movie. I literally had found out just after the film that a friend of mine had passed away, and it just, like, I didn't watch movies in cinemas for, like, 2 more months after that, like, new movies. I still went to the Astor, the Cinemaniacs, but I didn't see a brand new movie for about 2 months after Furiosa came out. I just couldn't find my feet for it. So that's why there's a bunch of movies just missing from this list, because that's how it goes. I can't watch every movie. I don't have all the time in the world. Missed 500 and something movies this year. Isn't that crazy? Over 500 movies in this year. But, yeah, so I still associate the events together, which is why I haven't touched the film again, but I plan to eventually. I won't watch the black and chrome edition. I'm just happy with the 4K. So, let's move on. We got number 7, The First Omen. Holy shit, I gave this one 4.5 stars. I had only seen the Omen and the second Damien, The Omen 2, just the day before. I'd had the Scream Factory set for like a couple months. Figured, alright, sure, we're going to watch First Omen on Tuesday. I'll watch the Omen. I have to just call it The Omen. It's so annoying because even Mum thinks I'm talking about The Omen when I say The First Omen. The Omen and Damien 2 I watched the night before. Really enjoyed them. Loved First Omen. Obviously, I've done a whole video talking about all 5 of them, so go check that out if you can find it in my Calm and Relax Talk section, where I talk about movie series. Anyway, I gave it 4.5 stars. It's fucking gorgeous. It's captivating. It's horrifying. It is. I had a panic attack watching it. That's how fucked up it is. I loved it. I love how I can see through my own visceral mental anguish to still see this is a fucking masterpiece, and here I am shitting myself. Not literally, but I wouldn't be surprised if literally. But yeah, it got to the stage where even after the movie finished and you get to the post-credits scene and all that bullshit, and my friends were like, because I watched it with friends, I went and picked them up and everything. They lived around the corner from the cinema, so it was just easy peasy. And they were like, oh, that was great. They got up, they was like, hey, how's it going? Like, what did you think of the film? I'm like, oh, I've been having a panic attack for the past half an hour now, but I had a great time. Loved it. Let me go throw up quickly, and then we'll move on. Because that's the thing, it's like, if I can stop myself from having to throw up, that's how I know I'm controlling myself better, which is good. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the last panic attack I've had in the cinema this year, which is good. Like, there's no audience that was annoying me. There was closed captions on the screen, which was hilarious because they were cut off halfway. It was like this part of the screen, right at the very bottom, and they were cut off. So it's like, what's the point of the closed captions then? No one's gonna fucking read it. Like, the subtitles were still there, but the captions, I'm like, it was stupid. But it gave me some area of distance to not be as horrified by it, but it is very scary. I think it's probably the scariest film of the year for me. Yeah, almost. Yeah, probably. Because, I mean, the next one, number 6, is In a Violent Nature, and that is, I think, a really funny film. The first 2/3 of it, when they're just following the guy, the whole Jason Voorhees ripoff stuff, I loved it so much because I love those slasher films. And it's just really funny. It could have been an extra hour longer of just him walking. It would have probably been maybe a better film. I don't know. They should have released an extended cut maybe. But every gruesome death scene was just like, skin crawling, but I was cacking myself. I'm like, this is so horrific, and I don't want to be sick, but also, I love it. This is amazing. the yoga scene in particular got to a stage where I did feel genuinely sick. I'm like, this is too fucked up, but I love it. It was just a stage below Terrifier 2's bedroom scene. So, woof. But yeah, so wonderful. The whole final act, I know a lot of people kind of lost it. Did they really enjoy the factor of him just... You change perspective in the movie and stuff, but that made it more terrifying for me, because for once in my life, I'm watching the victim of a horror film and being scared for them, because I know what the fucking killer can do, but not just in that aspect of, well, you've seen Jason go around chopping people's heads off, whatever the crap, you know, but there's so many different characters that you need to find the time to relate to them all. But it got to a point where, for some reason, once the perspective changed, it just became really tense for me, and I actually felt scared. And I really liked that. It just captivated me that much, that all the hilarity of how kind of stupid the first two-thirds of the movie was. Once it hits that final third, it completely switches tone, and just for me, just feels really visceral. I'm just like, even though realistically nothing happens, it's the implication of something could eventually, inevitably, maybe it will, maybe it won't. You just don't know, and that's what's so fun about it. So I had a blast watching that. Number 5, we have The Substance. I gave this one 4.5 stars. It just, pacing-wise, didn't perfectly work for me, but I'm keen to revisit it when the 4K comes out. From Mubi, not the goddamn Madman version. I know Madman just had a Blu-ray release come out, but I'm waiting for the Mubi 4K, because that's going to have a slew of more special features, because why not? But, yeah, this was stunning. I didn't even realize it was 2.5 hours long. Like, that kind of makes sense for why I felt the pacing was a bit off. Because it was just like, oh, I didn't realize it was 2.5 hours long when I was talking to my mate about it, and he was like, yeah, I can't believe it was like, what was it, 156 minutes or something? 141 minutes. And I'm like, what? What? when did that have time to be that goddamn long? But that was great. We watched it at the Lido, and it was a surprising thing. I watched it, you know, my friends technically co-invited me. They're like, oh, yeah, we're going to this if you want to come along. I invited my partner. It was a whole night where they had, like, dances before the movie, and they had drinks after. It was a hell of a thing. But it was really fun. Like, I said to Helene, because I sometimes get a bit anxious before horror films, because I said to her, I'm like, if this film has a comedic kind of tone to it, like a you know, satirical or sarcastic kind of tone, like something like that to it that at least has some kind of edge to take off, I can really appreciate this. And guess what? It fucking did. And it's really fucking funny. And it's really fucking terrifying in a different avenue. It's not as scary as something like, for me, In a Violent Nature was, or especially The First Omen, which I think was the scariest film of the year for me. But it had this great effect to it where it's like the horror doesn't always have... It's body horror. Like, it's just... It's a fuck ton of fun. Like, I'm laughing my head off. I'm like, this is great. I love this. The guy who kept going back for food has to stop eating now because people are just guts and, oh my god. Plus the excessive nudity and just Demi Moore's amazing performance and Dennis Quaid's amazing performance and Margaret Qualley. Again, what is happening with Margaret Qualley with just all these great films that she's choosing? Good on you, Margaret. You're doing a great job. So, very excited. Just loved it. Just amazing film. I can see why it got so much hype, because it is insanely good. Number 4, and this is, we're all in 5-star territory here, we've got Memoir of a Snail. Yeah, complete change of pace, isn't it? This is a Adam Elliott written and directed stop-motion animated film. Australian. He's a really nice guy. He actually presented, did a Q&A after one of his short films. I think it was Harvey Crumpet a couple years back when I was in university. And I ended up watching like Mary and Max with my partner. It's really sad. And then watching this one, I'm like, oh great, I'm crying now. And I had cried in cinema. Very rarely happens. The day before, watching a different film that I'll mention in a second. And that was crying from laughter. This one was crying because I was just so sad. But it's beautiful. It's amazingly performed. It's a stunning movie. I love Adam Elliott's work. It takes so long for him to make them, but there's so much artistry that goes into it. Being a local Melbourne person, there's so many things that I recognize in these films, and I love that as well. So it's just got a good homely feel to it, but it also has a great story and great characters. It's a really moving picture, and it's beautifully animated, because again, the stop motion is so great, and also it's very dirty. Like, it's not really for kids. There's a lot of Well, one of the adoptive parents of the main characters is a part of a nudist colony. Anyway, uh, yeah. So there's sexual references, to put it lightly. So it's a comedic aspect as well to the film. It's not just pure sadness the whole time. There is a lot of liveliness to it. It's very beautiful. It's very uplifting. It gives you the whole range of emotions. It's very, very good. Then at number 3, we have a movie that so many people didn't like, and I'm like, yeah, you guys are not Shyamalan heads, and it shows. It's Trap. My God, I gave it 4.5 stars the first time I watched it, and I was just like, man, this is really good, but the second half just felt like a drag, because once you get out of the cinema, out of the stadium, you're like, okay, what else? And you're like, oh my God, okay, when's this going to end? Because it just keeps going and going and going. But then on second watch, I found it much more interesting, because suddenly, despite knowing what was going to happen, the whole last third became really tense for me. Like, I was genuinely scared for one of the main characters. I'm like, oh my God. I knew what was going to happen because I'd seen it before. And I'd seen it a couple of weeks earlier with my mate, and then watched it with my partner. And it was just it felt like a different experience. And I still loved it. I think it's really funny. It's insanely unique, because again, I don't need complete realism in my movies, so people going to Shyamalan films expecting realism. Bro, he made a movie about a guy who's superpowered, so strong, and yet he drowns in a puddle of water. He made a movie about a kid who says dead people, and his psychiatrist is a fucking dead person. So it's like, I'm not expecting realism in these movies. I mean, he already made Old, and that's a masterpiece in and of its own. It's so unique and beautiful, and so funny and terrifying, and just, again, amazing. But Trap is just so fucking good. So again, people got to watch Trap and actually understand that it's not meant to be what probably you're expecting to see it. I don't know. I knew exactly what it was going into it, because I'm like, it's Shyamalan. I know what to expect. And I don't know, I feel like people expect a different thing from Shyamalan, and they keep getting the wrong thing. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I thought it was a masterpiece. Obviously, 5 stars. At number 2, now this is technically a 2022 film, but of course it went around so many film circuits for so many years, getting its official release this year. It's Hundreds of Beavers. I watched it, pirated it, of course, because it didn't come out in Australia for so long. I watched it with my partner, and we watched it in here, actually, and we were fucking cacking ourselves. I've never heard her laugh so much during a movie, and it was a little distracting, but I'm also like, this movie is genuinely hilarious. And then a couple months later, they have it playing at the Lido, and I'm like, me and my mate had just been working together, and we're like, hey, let's just go watch it, Why not? We already invited a different friend, went and saw it. Lo and behold, 2 of my other friends who had heard about the movie from me also came. I didn't even invite them. They just showed up, and they just recognized me from my head. Woof. And they came and sat next to us, and I was like, that's great. They didn't love the movie as much as I did, which is perfectly fine, because again, it's a comedy, everyone has different cups of tea, but I thought it was fucking hilarious. Again, that's the one I cried whilst watching it. It was just so funny, and this is the second time I was watching it, and it's still so goddamn funny. It's so inventive, so creative. Everyone talking about it on Reddit, being like, has anyone heard of this film? I haven't heard of this film, but I've heard good things. What's the deal? And I'm like, yeah, it's that good. No wonder why it sold out like crazy on Vinegar Syndrome's website when they did their Blu-ray release, which I, of course, ordered because I want that 10 hours of special features, baby. But, it's so fucking beautiful. And the first day I watched it, too, I had just seen, and this is my number 1 spot. If you know me, you already know what my number 1 is, because I watched it the same day as Hundreds of Beavers. I did a Charlie Chaplin film with my partner. She had never seen it. It was The Gold Rush. She'd never seen a Charlie Chaplin. So I'm like, here's a black and white comedy. We didn't expect that we were going to watch Hundreds of Beavers that day. We went out to the cinema, watched a different film, went back home, watched Hundreds of Beavers. So it gave her enough context, even though if I had shown her maybe a Buster Keaton instead, it would have worked a bit better. But it was hilarious. And I loved it, and I cannot wait to watch it again someday, because again, it's just that goddamn good. But again, number 1, of course, it's challenges. I've been talking this movie up a goddamn storm all goddamn year. I love the challenges. I've seen challenges 3 times now. I've given it 5 stars every time, because it's just that good. I love the score. I'm planning to get the vinyl because I heard that there's a vinyl and I want to get it because there's no CD. But my dad has a record player that allows you to burn records onto a goddamn computer so I can have it on my phone and not have to stream it anymore. It's amazing. I love it. I don't even give that much of a shit for sport, which is ironic because I film sport for a living, almost for a living. It's my weekend jobs is filming sport. So I film tennis. I have filmed all kinds of sport, and I know the veracity that comes into filming it. But this just has a great style. The characters are amazing. Just the vibe, the constant that score. I will just put it on while I'm on my way to work just to pump it up. Give me some energy. I don't need coffee. I need the Challenger soundtrack. It's my favorite film of the year. I don't think that there's anything that could top it realistically. Again, Hundreds of Beavers is so neck and neck to it. And again, I watched that film twice on the same day. Going from Challenger's masterpiece to the Hundreds of Beavers masterpiece. And it's just like, what the fuck? And the fact that I'm just like, I remember in October, this is the third time I went to watch it because I'd already watched it when I got the Blu-ray, which is a couple months after I'd seen it. I watched it again in October because I had just watched 2 really awful horror films I needed to watch for my Hooptober list, and was like, I need to cleanse the palate. Here, what's a film that, Challenges? Put it on. I'll watch the whole 2.5 hours. I don't fucking care. I love it. Luca is a fantastic filmmaker. Probably my favorite modern day filmmaker, and I'm so excited to see what he comes out with next. Obviously, like Suspiria was great. All of the ones he's done, I have adored. I'm very interested to see what Queer is like. And they're talking about that American Psycho remake that he's doing, which I have a friend who asked me about it, and she was like, what do you think? Do you think that's a smart idea? I'm like, look, the original film is a masterpiece. I'm curious to see what Luca does, because Luca did Suspiria, and Suspiria is amazing, and I love Suspiria, the remake, as much as I do the original. So I'm very curious to see what his vision does, and if it flops, if it fucking sucks, then it sucks. But I'm curious to see what happens. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. But Challenges are great. This is my top 10. Let me know your top 10 of the year down below. Let me know how much you hated Trap. I don't fucking care. That's about it. I think that Trap and Driveway Dolls, I think, are my 2 more controversial ones, to be completely honest. But, yeah, that's 2024. Cinema's Revenge, according to my Letterboxd list. So, yeah, I watched 39 films. I'll probably have more, again, by the end of the year, actually, but I don't know if any of them will be able to fit that bill of the top 10, so I'm pretty content with what we've got. And, see you guys next time. Adios. I guess stay tuned for my worst of the year, unless that's already come out. I don't know. Maybe I'm filming these in the wrong order. Magic.